Alright. Hold on here 1 second. Alright, good morning guys. Hey, we got like a little bit of a gap up in the market. You know, we were actually chilling in the pre-market and then we just ripped it, you know, about 30-40 minutes ago. So now, I mean, now we're gonna be now we're gonna be shredded. I mean, now we're gonna be able to shred. Yeah, you know what? The chasing the gaps are very, very tricky just because you don't have, I mean, it's going to take a little bit of the steam out of, you know, some of the longs, but whatever. Like, I mean, it's not a huge gap. I think we'll be just fine. There's more than enough earnings plays out running around today anyways, but like, let's take a look. I think, you know, a couple of the things that we'll have to be mindful of. How does the market react? How does the market react around this old high from yesterday? Do we start to build over it or do we pull back? You know, is this kind of a double top? At this point, you know, the 20 SMA was defended once again for the, you know, 20th time on the QQQs. One thing to remember about this market is every time the market looks bad for a few days, it just kind of rips right back. You know, that kind of 20 SMA spot has been, you know, like a rock for this whole run since the coronavirus started. So those are really like, if you're ever like a swing trader or something like that, you know, you want to be timing your entries with also like different things that you're seeing in the market in terms of their overall picture. You know, and even if you're a day trader, you know, this is when you want to get more aggressive to the long side. Let's first take a look at some of the earnings plays and then we'll come back and see like what is going on the, you know, just like our regular watch list. So RVLV's got earnings out today, and Revolve Group swings the Q2 profit, both stronger than expected sales, blah, 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 blah. This is a newer company, so when you have like a stock that's an IPO, when you got a stock that's like an IPO, and it's still like a pretty small market cap, you know, it's like 1.3 billion. When you beat on your first earnings, like, you know, sometime in the first couple of years, when you start to beat on earnings, guess what? You start to push. The stocks that are like newer companies and you start to really like, you get a series of even earnings beats, they end up being like some really interesting plays. I think, you know, we could have some fun on this. Now, it's a little bit thin. You know, there's always a spread on it. What we'll have to do is make sure that, you know, it pulls back at the open. You know, usually if you start to pull back and round on something like this, like it'll end up being pretty good. I'd add that to list. That may be even top of the list, depending on the liquidity. When this thing IPO'd, you know, for a couple days, like we traded this thing nonstop. It was a hot mover. It's been a turd since, but, you know, in general, it moves pretty good. Why? Joy to transfer who your shares 10 cents. I don't know what that means. This one's already got some heat. This is actually, you know, you got its highs were at 100, so you got some room to go. You're remounting over 2 MAs over here. In general, this one's always got some range on it too. You can already see like pre-market, it's moving around back and forth like $5-6. I'd add that to the list. I think that one's going to be something that's got a chance on it. This is another one because it's thin and it's got a little bit of a spread. You just got to wait for it to pull back a little bit and then you're good to go. WCC, junk. Onem. Onem Healthcare, results better than estimates. Shares rise, blah, 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 blah. So Onem is interesting. This was a high flyer. You know, since it's open, this was a high flyer. Now, this is also in the right sector. These healthcare stocks that are like healthcare technology stocks, they do tend to, they've been hot all year. Now, my issue on this one is going to be really the location of the daily chart is a little bit problematic in that, you know, you got all this resistance overhead. but it is the right sector, and you do still have some room to go. Like, I would add that, but that is not probably top of the list due to the fact that anytime you have a stock that's like busting out on earnings or anything like that, you really need it to, you really want it to have like a good, like a really good daily chart where you don't have to worry about booby traps. What I mean by booby traps is like levels of supply that could knock it down when you're in the trade. It's like you could be in the trade and all of a sudden there's a, some level of supply that maybe you weren't aware of. Now this thing, is getting knocked down. So you got to be a little bit careful. You have to trade around the different spots and just be like a little bit mindful of that. Dun, 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 dun. PPR, tapestry.com. This one I'm probably a pass on. It looks like it's a little bit of a grinder. Not too much heat on it. Penzilla is a big breakout at this point. Up 6% again. In general, at this point, Penn is probably, a buy on all dips kind of name. Meaning if you get like big pulls on it, even if it's for 1 or 2 days, like this is probably something, as long as this trend is really going, this is probably something that, you want to be holding on to. I mean, the pattern on this, when you think about like, a lot of times you may think like it's already up too much. When you have a flat top breakout pattern, like, so see this pattern, like, right there, 3 test breakout. When you get a flat top breakout pattern, the longer the base, the longer it can run. So like if you had like a 5 or 6 month base, for example, there's a shot that it can run for also, right, quite a few months. If you have a short pattern, like a 3 to 10 day pattern, then, usually like a stock will run for 3 to 10 days. Silver gapping up 4%. I think silver's getting into a bouncy spot. This one is this one's got probably a chance. It's up 4%, but you may want to put some silver stocks on your watch list. It looks pretty good. Tesla is still bouncing based on their 5-to-1 split. I believe it happens at the end of the month, so who knows? I don't know why that's causing it to go up, but in this market, you don't really need any reason to go up. So you can keep trading this bad boy. I would still keep adding it. There's not anything going. Now let's take a look at some. There's a couple of these SPACs are starting to kind of base out and go. At some point, like I think this shill has gotten really tight range. If it comes out of this, like I'd put an alert right around 21, 25. If it can push out of that, that one actually could go. Also, Nikola is starting to Nikola's got a nice 4-day consolidation. So you had the news that they had their first customers or so on and so forth. Now you got a nice kind of flag that's been building out over 40, 41, 42. It looks like it's ready to go. This one could have a chance to get to 50, 51 if it breaks out of this flag. I would probably put that, at top of the list, especially in this kind of market, where these like spec names are really going. This is hot. This is hot. That's probably my favorite for today. It is a little bit of a pain to trade, but it looks pretty good. Now let's look on the downside. Let's see if any stocks are busting up. ADVM's offering, Vrex, ping. Okay. So ping identity results, top, street views, guys, revenue downbeat. I'm not sure on this one. It never has that good of liquidity. I mean, if we need a short, it might be worth potentially watching, but who knows? I don't know about, this one. This one is sitting right on some support. It'd really have to break under 30 to kind of get going. What do you think? Yeah, Rick, the 5-to-1 just means like, if you had one share, you'll have 5, but it'll cut the price in 1/5. So if it's $2,000, by the time the split happens, you'll have, instead of one share, 2,000, you have 5 shares at 400, if that makes sense. Yeah, ping. Pass. Cisco. Man, Cisco's always been a turd. It's a pain to trade. It's too much of a grinder, too big of a float. I'd leave that one alone. Dio. Nah. See, all these are probably like GMIA. I don't know. And one might be a day 2 play. If you break under this base at 11, if you break under the base at like 1130, 1140, probably good. Intel's a turd too. You gotta find some hot stocks. Like my great grandpa trades Intel. My dada trades Intel. Cisco, Intel, these are, old school companies. They just don't move that well. Like if you're going to go in the semiconductor space, there's like 3 or 4 names that are just red hot right now that could explode. Why go with, why go with the one that stinks? I do think that this one, if it breaks yesterday's lows, it should still continue. The setup on it would be like this. Like yesterday on SRNE, for example, SRNE had like that big drop. Right off at the open, like see the first candle you broke over under the previous day's low? As soon as they do that, like you can take the trade for like a quick little shred. That would probably be the play on JMIA. I wouldn't mess around with it too much, like if it's up here, but if you start to see it look like, it's going to take that level out, then that's where you want to really push under that one. But if it starts to squeeze because the SSR will be on, leave it alone for a little bit and let it kind of marinate. Yeah, I had a good shred on mRNA short yesterday. The rest of this is all junk. All right, so these are the 3 earnings plays. And then regular watch list out of the phase. Nicola's probably, I think, the most ready for it. Penn is a daily trader at this point for us. I think gold is probably going to get bouncy soon. It's starting to even out here. We'll see which way this comes. Usually, it's a little bit long in the tooth. JNUG, frankly, this could turn into a bear flag, but most likely it still could go. I think most likely it at least comes and fills this gap, to 160. I think that's got to be top of the list. Like it moves pretty well. Yeah, Mark, the only issue I think you may find, and you might have to be a U.S. citizen to get into that one. Jason, the way you've been acting and gambling the last couple of days, your opinion means nothing. Get your shit together. We'll see which way it goes. It could go either way. It could go either way. It's not top of the list, but it is a daily trader for us at this point. If anybody likes any small caps, I don't normally trade small caps, but I think it's true. You know, it had an earnings gap, and now you're starting to base out at that 9 EMA. If this thing starts to curl its way back, like you'll have a pretty low risk spot to kind of take this thing back into the sixes. Like that one is going to be, that one could be hot. Mitch. Earnings play. So you had the gap on the earnings. You got a 5-day consolidation. You're right under that sweet spot here. If this thing takes out, I would say like 1820, it should be good to go. And you got a similar setup in Sedig like that. Now Sedig has a little bit of a spread, but I do believe it. This got sick range. If it takes out 220, like you're going to have, I think you're going to have yourself a pizza party. You know, the rest of the stuff I think is all junk. I would get that. Those are our faves. I'm sticking to it. Anybody got any that we need to add? Yeah, NVIDIA is a nice daily chart. I think the earnings should be in a week, give or take. Hey, Christian, how you doing? Cool. Yep, this is the list. I'm sticking to it. What you think? Yeah, good. If I could turn back time, if I could find a way. What are y'all looking at? Niall, let me take a look here. I don't like this candle here. You know, when you have like a stock that had earnings on it, just gets completely smoked on it. I don't like that overall look. You know, this kind of like, it's almost like a reversal candle at that point. What happens is like every kind of bounce in these things ends up getting faded off. Yeah, not a big fan. Unless like the whole sector just starts going. You know when Niall will be ready? When Shill and like SPAC and some of the other like turdy EV plays, Workhorse, they all start to go. That's when, you know, you probably see the rebound in. Now, I don't know why this Workhorse is just hugging this 15 like so for so long. It's acting like it's been waiting for some news or something. Every time it looks good, it reverses, and every time it looks bad, it comes back up. That one's a conundrum that probably till it starts to just push in a particular direction, you leave alone. OPTT probably I think OPTD probably, if you like small caps, probably worth a day 2 play. Yeah, Workhorse is a pain to trade. Zach Morris, what's going on? Blink is another one that's probably worth a gander to put on the list. This is, you know, it's cleaner than Nio. It also trades like crap, but, you know, it's cleaner. Good. That's the list. I'm sticking to it. That's the list. We don't need anything else. You could go, look, Lyft, Uber, these are weak, but they move weird. But I do, Waza, is that your name? Can we get a real name? Guys, can we start using some regular names? I feel weird calling you Waza. I would add that, actually. You know, I would add that I think Lyft moves a lot better than Uber. It's a a little bit less float. Still got good liquidity. That's a good idea, Mr. Wahaza. Looks good. I'd add it. I'm stealing it. Cool. That's the list. I'm sticking to it. Anybody got any questions? Going once. Going twice. Sold. Adios, muchachos. Let's do this. I'll be in the chat room doing what I do. Yesterday was hot. Yesterday was hot. I don't anticipate today being as hot as yesterday, but we'll have to make do with what we got. Yeah, let's get that thing going. If I could turn back time. If I could turn back time, if I could find a way. Oh, man, I gotta go to the bathroom. RVLV is, I think, my main focus out of the earnings plays.